Good evening, everyone. I'm Lissy Bastian. It's great having you back with us. House Speaker Houston Moultrie defending his actions in the House of Assembly today following the opposition's criticism of his proceedings during its move of resolution of no confidence in Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis last week. Leader of Opposition Philip Davis on Sunday accused the Speaker of abuse of power and the conventions of the Westminster system of governments by not permitting him to wrap up the debate since he was the mover of the resolution. But today, Mr. Moultrie noted that in legal environments and quasi-judicial environments, it is inappropriate for any member aggrieved by any decision of the chair or a judge to seek to raise red herrings in the media or the press, challenging the decision when rules of procedure provides for the procedure for any aggrieved member to follow.
Other than on a motion of censure or no confidence, for which is critical of government or of an officer in the service of government or a public corporation, the final reply of the mover of the original question closes the debate. That rule is very clear, that other than those two motions, the mover has the right to close the debate. But in this particular instance, on the 11th of December, we were dealing with censure and a motion of no confidence, which does not give the mover the right to close the debate. That rule is clear.
Mr. Moultrie noted that in his estimation, when the rules are read in its totality, it does the most serious damage to minority parties. The Speaker stated that the rule used in last week's proceedings is clear and insisted that the action taken was consistent with Rule 33, subsection 9. Moultrie says it is inaccurate to suggest that the Speaker allowed the governing party to repeal a motion. The House of Assembly passing the Anti-Terrorism Amendment Regulations 2019 bill today, with Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Peter Turnquest saying it will assist in removing the Bahamas from the Financial Action Task Force's grey list.
Well, the Bahamas could and should be removed from the FATF's grey list, which was imposed in June of 2017. Mr. Speaker, this is a very small amendment that just, again, brings us in line with the United Nations regulations. However, it is an important resolution that in order to be removed from this list, or consideration to remove this grey list, and hopefully get on the no list, it is necessary that we pass this, as this is one of the points that was raised in the FATF assessment. And so
he says the resolution represents one of the obligations the Bahamas has to meet with regards to the demands of the United Nations Security Council. Turnquest added that the amendment allows for the implementation of United Nations resolutions which impose financial sanctions in the financing of proliferation of weapons of mass destruction regarding terrorist entities and individuals. The Bahamas was considered one of few countries with weaknesses in their anti-financial crimes defense. According to Mr. Turnquest, the Bahamas was imposed on the grey list in June 2017, but should exit that list in early 2020. Meantime, the Road Traffic Amendment Bill 2019 was also passed in the House today. The bill calls for the reformation of the law as it relates to death by reckless driving or dangerous driving, and to establish the offense of vehicular manslaughter by reckless driving while under the influence of drugs or alcohol, driving while unlicensed or uninsured, and driving with unbelted children. It will provide for higher penalties for road offenses. The Court of Appeal delivering a ruling in favor of Canadian fashion mogul Peter Nygaard. You may remember last month, attorneys for Mr. Nygaard filed an appeal on a sentence to serve 90 days in prison handed down by Supreme Court Judge Justice Ruth Bo Darville for contempt of court. Well, Court of Appeal Justice Roy Jones ruled in favor of Nygaard, whose attorneys filed a notice of appeal and a motion for stay of execution pending appeal. In his ruling, Justice Jones concluded that Mr. Nygaard has so far partially purged his contempt by paying into the court the fine of $150,000 and $15,000 representing the daily amount to be paid while the fine remains outstanding. He has also provided an apology to the court. Justice Jones also noted that Nygaard's compliance with the court's orders and case, even at this late stage, shows a willingness to respect the court's process and some remorse for past behavior. Justice Jones added that to remove any risk of unfairness, he granted Mr. Nygaard a stay of execution of the 90-day custodial sentence until the hearing of his appeal in the Court of Appeal. Meantime, legal action could be taken by the end of this week by attorney Wayne Monroe on behalf of his client, Assistant Commissioner of Police Kendall Strawn. Mr. Monroe telling JCN's news team that ACP Strawn was locked out of his office at the Royal Bahamas Police Force headquarters, his computer user ID and emails deactivated, and his radio disabled. Following this, on behalf of his client, a letter was sent to Commissioner of Police Anthony Ferguson on December 12th, requesting clarification on a letter from the Commissioner that ACP Strawn received on December 9th. That letter informed Strawn of his appointment as Chief of Security at the Willamette Pratt and Simpson Penn Centers. According to Mr. Monroe, persons cannot be transferred without their consent. Now, he says if he doesn't receive a response to the letter he sent to the Commissioner of Police by the end of the week, legal action will be taken over the matter as his client was transferred to the Ministry of Social Services without consent.
Look at, we need declaration with regard the legality of the order. To my mind, it amounts to assigning him, seeking to transfer him without his consent, seeking to transfer him outside of the Royal Bahamas Police Force, seeking to transfer him to work that's below the responsibility he has now, and doing it outside of the construct of the involvement of the relevant agencies.
According to the letter, the appointment was to take effect on December 9th and is a subsidiary of ACP Strawn's present position in the Royal Bahamas Police Force, including all benefits, entitlements, and pensions. Mr. Monroe added that from his understanding, the only way a person can be moved is through promotion. In March of this year, ACP Strawn was one of 5 senior officers sent on leave with accumulated vacation time. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.
This segment of the news was brought to you by Alive.